begin.
It's October 28th, 2021. You know what that means. It is day 28 of the 31 Days of Fright horror movie project, year 10. We are so close to the end. I cannot believe it. We are 3 days away from the end. And the last 3 days are going to be good movies. I've saved the best for last. For the 29th, 30th, and 31st, I've saved the best for last, and at least what I've bought for this year. So, but before I go any further with today's movie, I need you to click subscribe, hit the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, share, do all those things because it helps me get my channel and video to a much broader audience. And while you're doing that, go over to these other channels and do the exact same thing. Show them some love. The 13th Wolfman, I Am the Ice Lord, Curly Girl at the Movies, Dave Maggot, Retro Horror, Random Horror. You got Carly 317, Double Shot J, Dave Maggot, Trash Film Addict. Go over their channel. There's plenty more of us. But go over their channels and give them some much needed love as well, because we have fun doing this every year, and every one of us has our own little niche, and just to help us, the little horror community, get our channels and videos to a much broader audience, because every one of us deserves our videos to be seen by a broader audience. So thank you. So today's movie is called The Severed Arm. I got this in a multi-pack, multi-disc set. Another shout out from my fiance who got me this, and she wanted me to, she got this for me specifically for this, and I really wanted to do a few of these, but just from, blindly buying the Maneater series and some other movies I've been wanting to do on this list. But I'm like, you know what, I'm still going to at least do one, regardless. And I picked out one of the genres on this disc. Yeah, the great blood-sucking vampire movies, the great cannibal classics, classic demon movies, and legendary horror movies. And I don't think I didn't have a cannibal movie this year. So I'm like, you know what, I'll pick one from these, and I picked The Severed Arm. So I will put up a poster of the actual movie right here, but when the final credit rolled on the screen when the movie was done, my overall thought was it was actually pretty decent. It wasn't that bad. The copy that I have on this disc is pretty rough. It's from the 70s. I do believe it's 1973. I do believe that's what I researched after the movie. This movie has a distinct honor of being the tall man from Phantasm's first movie. I do believe that's what I've read, and so I'm like, oh, so it comes full circle. I did Phantasm a few days ago, and about a week ago actually, and it's just like it comes full circle, and by accident. So, and just the overall movie was actually okay. There are some scenes where it was just kind of dragging here in dialogue scenes, but I'm going to tell you what you need to know real quick before I go well into this movie. It's basically a bunch of explorers get trapped in a mine shaft, and then they result to cannibalism, almost, because they draw straws. They're trapped down there for like 2 weeks, and they run out of food and water, and they're like, well, we need to survive, so they draw straws, and it's like the guy who ends up losing, it's like, can we just wait a few more hours? That's all we need. And you kind of guess, you can probably guess where this is going. So they all like, yeah, we will agree to this. So they all take a nap, and then the guy who wakes up, who draws the shortest straw, wakes up and it's like, well, if someone's dead, I don't have to lose a body part, So he takes a rock and tries to bludgeon someone, and doesn't go very well. So the crew turns on him, cuts off his arm, and then immediately help arrives. So he just lost his arm for no reason, and the guy kind of did it to himself. He's like trying to keep some hope alive, and his arm attached to him, and at the same time he did it to himself. Like I said, he tried to kill someone, and he lost an arm for it. So that's the flashback scene. The way this movie opens up with somebody going into a morgue, cutting off a severed arm, a cadaver's arm, and mailing it to our lead of the movie, and he gets it in the mail, and then it's like, oh, he immediately knows what's happening, so he starts contacting the other survivors, and then they end up getting kind of picked off one by one in various methods. What this movie is also famous for is the arm ripping scene. From what I also gathered from what I've looked up, is that there's a scene in this movie where they're on the beach and this guy is kind of looking over, to kind of watching him, and all of a sudden our killer of the movie ties a rope around his arm and throws him off the cliff, and it ripped his arm completely out of the socket. And I even that kind of, I wasn't expecting that level of. It's not real. This movie isn't overly gory, but it's a lot of it isn't like in your mind. But you do see the arm coming out of its not in full gory detail, but it's like you see the arm come out of the sleeve and still hanging the rope. So it's like it's still enough for a 1973 horror movie. So just that scene, and then they're trying to, it's kind of a mystery as well. And my only really down part of this movie is that it was the killer of the movie had several opportunities to kill a lot of these people, but you got the horror trope, and it's like, oh, this guy is randomly saved by some random pedestrian or something totally random that prevents the killer from going forward with this particular attack, and then he has to change his plan and do it at a different time. That happens a couple times in the movie, but what this movie truly stands above the rest, and sometimes of what, not above the rest, but really saved this movie, is the ending. Because I'm gonna quote Randall Graves from Clerks, is that's what life is. It's just a series of down endings. And this movie's twist and ending is awesome. I really liked this ending. It really did save this movie. If the movie would have ended with the killer just being killed right off the bat and just in normal fashion, it would have been, I would have been more inclined to be like, I'm going to just find a different movie to watch. But the twist I really wanted to talk about, because it was, like I mentioned, it's kind of a downer ending, and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, I was like really into the whole ending sequence of this movie. So, and that's really all I want to say about that. Like I mentioned, it's not really overly gory. It's more in your mind. You got have one of those like psycho shots, where you just see the kind of the blade, and then the person screaming, the blade, and the screaming, and like the kind of the weapon of the movie, which is an axe, kind of like on the body, but no impact or anything like that. So it's like that, but it's all in your mind, and it's actually not too badly edited. It's not too badly shot. It's just okay, but that ending really did save the movie for me. So that's really all I have to say about the severed arm. As I was trying to think of how to rate this movie, is it falls in a couple of different categories. It's definitely a 1. It's definitely your run-of-the-mill horror. But that ending definitely makes it more than average, because I really do like horror movies that have downer endings. You don't need to have it all wrapped up and the heroes vanquish the evil being or monster at the end, which has happened quite a bit in these last few movies. So seeing kind of a downer ending was really, really nice. So that is really all I have to say about this movie. It's basically a run-of-the-mill horror movie, but that ending definitely makes it, in my opinion, a little bit more than average as well. So that is all. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and I want to say thank you for my movie this year, My Fiancée, because I wouldn't have had this really good experience watching this movie if it wasn't for you. So all I can really say is thank you.